Hey, good morning everybody. Bobby here, and today's topic is the putting stroke, and more specifically why you might be having trouble taking it back in a way that suits your eye, and then taking it through. Because if you're like most people at one point or another, you've noticed that as you observe your backswing, it doesn't seem to go back straight. And what do you do then? You try to make up the difference on the way through, and then the whole thing just feels a mess. So let's put that aside. That's the issue. I just can't control my putting stroke. Doesn't look like I want it to look. What else do we know? Well, we know that the best putters in the world use a core-driven stroke. Well, you mean shoulders? No, not shoulders. Shoulders moving artificially would be up and down. That's not what's going on. The shoulders are hooked to the core, and the core slightly turns right and left. That's what a putting stroke is. And so, if that's true, as I say, that core-driven stroke is to the exclusion of excess wrist and arm. Now, what is required to make that work? Well, a square setup. And this is where almost everybody has lost it. This is the simplest thing in the world that becomes the gateway between what feels like absolutely substandard putting and taking you to a point where you can really use a core-driven, more expert-like putting stroke. Is finding a way to square your forearms. If you'll take your putting stroke and just lift it up and then observe your forearms, people who are struggling in the way that I'm talking about today, in 9 cases out of 10, their rear arm is higher than their left. This is the way it looks if you were to put something across there. Their rear arm is higher than their left. It's not horizontal like it should be. Now, if you set up like that, then what you have to do at that point is you have to use a hands and arm stroke. You have to not putt in a fundamentally sound way to make your less than fundamentally sound setup work. You can't do it. You've got to manipulate it because there's nothing square about that. If you tried to use your core, it would just automatically go straight to the outside. It wouldn't go to the inside or straight back like it should. And so what do? Well, you figure out a way to make that work. You set up and you say, okay, well, if that's wrong, all right, now I'll put a line across me. Okay, that's square. Now I'm going to set up, and there's going to be some magic that happens. As soon as you take this thing back, it's going to go slightly to the inside. As it gets to the ball, it's going to turn the corner and go over to the left. That's where it should be. Now, not to great proportions, but it does slightly go to the inside on the backswing and slightly to the inside, not by any manipulation, but because you're standing on a tilted plane beside the golf ball, and the arc is such that it should go slightly inside out to back to the inside. And so that's the deal. Find a way to get square. If you're not square, nothing will get its reward like finding a way to get square. That is with your 2 forearms horizontal, and then set up and learn to hit. And I know that's going to help you. Remember, you can't ride 2 horses at once. If you simply insist on setting up in a way that's not square with your forearms, then you cannot possibly make any use of a fundamentally sound stroke. You have to have a bad stroke to match your bad setup. So I want to thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.